Man, Taylor, I've been thinking a lot about jobs I've done in the past and things like that. And I really feel like a lot of it feels like slavery. You ever feel that way?
I mean, when you look back with a critical lens on some of these experiences that we've had, I think we realize how much internalized white supremacy and racism that we've experienced in working.
Right.
I, for example, through high school and for a while, I was a barista at Starbucks, and people would come in and boss me around and ask me to put a fourth shot in their quad venti, sugar cinnamon dolce latte with extra whipped cream. And if I didn't do it in a timely manner, they would scream at me and yell and treat me like a slave, essentially. It's really basically traumatic. The same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I had a similar experience. I was working for like a traveling pizza company. We used to go to concerts and things like that. So I constantly just was being shipped, to and from to all these different places, and people were shouting orders at me. And if I didn't get the order right, they shouted more. And it was just,
This is horrifying.
Yeah, it really reminds me of the transatlantic slave trade in a lot of ways. And I feel like there's some generational trauma there.
It's basically a one-to-one comparison.
Basically.
I mean, in your job now as a social media influencer, you're put up on this pedestal and people just judge you and look at you, and anything that you do, say, is just under the microscope. And it's probably just because you're black.
This is essentially modern day slavery.
Yeah, you're enslaved by being...
And scene, ladies and gentlemen. I know you're thinking, that sounds absolutely ridiculous. But guess what? It's not too ridiculous, because Colin Kaepernick is the star of a new documentary coming out on Netflix. And his documentary compares his time in the NFL to slavery. Don't believe me? Let's watch the video.
What they don't want you to understand is what's being established is a power dynamic. Before they put you on the field, teams poke, prod, and examine you, searching for any defect that might affect your performance. No boundary respected, no dignity left intact.
Pause. That's weird. I don't see any white NFL players in the line to be bidded on. Where are the white NFL players that also go through this same exact process? Do you see them, Taylor?
I do not.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting that we chose to focus on only black NFL players while we make this slavery comparison, even though there are plenty of white football players who are not being shown in this. Also, how dare you? How dare you?
Honestly.
Because what you're failing to mention here is that you guys get drafted to do a job that makes you millions and millions of dollars. These people check you out, and there are white and black people who recruit for the NFL. So what do you have to say about that? I love that they're showing just white men who are picking out these NFL players. They pay you, and they're anticipating to pay you millions of dollars in a contract that they have to sign with you legally. That is legally binding, and you're comparing it to slavery.
Yeah. And Gina Carano got canceled for making a Holocaust comparison that was relatively mild when compared to something like this. This is a full-blown theatrical reenactment of slavery itself that you specifically manufactured to make this comparison. Gina Carano, I think, shared a meme to her Instagram story, and that was enough for the mainstream media to freak out, lose their minds, and cancel her over that. And this is essentially, you're comparing the institution of the transatlantic slave trade to the experience that all NFL players, black, white, Hispanic, whatever, have to go through just to be physically screened and analyzed before a team invests millions of dollars in paying you millions of dollars. The minimum salary, I think, is like $700,000 for a backup kicker, or if you're on a practice squad or something. And these players are being paid to freely participate in, voluntarily sign a contract that you agree to in order to play for this team. So it's literally the furthest thing from a one-to-one comparison. And the fact that we're just glossing over the fact, like what this does is devalues, or it devalues the actual experience of the slaves. You know, it makes it belittles their experience, and you're reducing it to something that professional football players who are paid millions of dollars go through. You're to even compare that to what actual slaves went through. It's very belittling and very it tramples on history. It's disgusting, honestly.
It also belittles these men who have worked their entire life to be part of the NFL, and now you're just saying they're slaves to the system, which the only reason you have a platform for this documentary is because of the NFL. Nobody would know who he is if he wasn't part of the NFL. And now he gets to stand on his high horse and, for virtue signaling, compare what is happening in football to slavery.
Yeah.
Blows my mind. Let's finish the video. Ugh. Shame on everybody that was a part of this project. Literally shame on you for doing this. We get so up in arms about making comparisons to atrocities that are not an apt comparison. This is not an apt comparison by any sense of the imagination at all, to compare your millions and millions of dollar career that all these men work for, both white and black, and all these men coach, both white and black, to slavery is ridiculous.
It is. And, you know, for an example, too, like I recently watched Django for the first time, and they portray some of the horrors of slavery on film. And what that does is, like, it draws attention to how horrific it was. And it forces you to, like, look at history and say, and confront it and deal with it. And how are you going to deal with these facts? What this is doing is basically the opposite. It's trying to take that outrage that you should feel about slavery and apply it to I don't even know what, like a political issue, a gripe that he's got with the NFL. It's basically just imaginary oppression that he's trying to use the weight of slavery to. And it's such a cheap, dirty parlor trick that is just pretty reprehensible to even try to make that comparison.
What is the criticism here? What would you prefer the NFL do? Are you preferring that they don't look for people who are physically fit, or they don't even take that into account when hiring their players, that they don't look at their stats, that they don't do proper bidding to pay for a player that is worth being paid more and not pay for a player that is not worth being paid more? What is your gripe specifically? What would you rather the NFL do?
It's reaching so far to try to insert racism where there is none. And that's basically the society we live in today. We must racialize everything. We must problematize everything and find. That's what critical race theory does. It's a lens that you see the world through, where racism, it's not a question of did racism occur? It's where is the racism to be found? You're working from the foregone conclusion that this is racist, no matter NFL, if it's schools, if it's whatever, there's racism here, and it's just a matter of how do we tease it out and find it. And we're calling BS on this one, Colin.
High demand, low supply with this one. Now, but what happens to the Colin Kaepernicks of the world? What happens to these men who make just completely ridiculous comparisons in the name of social justice? They get platforms for it. Like I said, that documentary is going to be on Netflix, or is on Netflix. And here is this. I want to show you this new Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Ben & Jerry's changed the world non-dairy frozen dessert with Colin Kaepernick right on the front saying, I know my rights. We got the freedom fist hanging out on there. He gets his own ice cream for doing this. You get rewarded. And this is why I say so often, oppression is currency. If you can convince people of oppression and victimhood, you will be paid to do so. He is making a lot of money doing this, a lot of money making these comparisons that have no standing, making these assumptions that have no basis, and telling people that America is racist. Why would you ever stop when you get your own documentary on Netflix and you get your face on ice cream? They incentivize you to do this.
Yeah, it's like you said, supply and demand.
Yep.
There's not enough supply of racism, and so anyone who can meet the demand, and people like Colin Kaepernick have seen that economic opportunity and seized on it. And I don't know. I don't like to. I remember back in the day, I was very hesitant to like attribute anything to Colin's motives or read into it at all. But it seems pretty nakedly obvious now with this far of a reach that it's a grift, man. It's a total like money grab. And there's what are you even seriously protesting here? What is the issue that you're actually calling attention to?
Right.
It's not about that. You can make money. You can stay relevant. You can have a platform by racializing things, and that's what all these like grifters we'll get into another one in a minute with Ibram Kendi, but I think the white guilt part is like a real thing. We've been preached so long in the culture of this idea of white guilt, and people are like desperate for, oh, this black person, tell me how guilty I am and tell me how terrible racism is in America, and it makes me feel like I'm not part of the problem, and I feel like there's just all these dynamics at play because our culture has just become so saturated with this racialized ideology and critical theory that is just ruining basic, obvious human interactions.
He either truly believes this and is delusional, or he doesn't believe this at all and he has no moral integrity whatsoever. It's one of the two things, and both of those are horrible. Both of those do not deserve support whatsoever. So either way, this is bad. It doesn't matter how you cut it up. Now we're going to get into the next person who has done this exact same thing, this exact same transgression. This is Ibram X Kendi. Now, he tweeted out, and I'll show you the tweet because a lot of people have screenshotted this. He subsequently deleted these tweets because he got so much heat for what he said. He tweeted, here is their tortured line of thinking when white applicants think they can get an advantage by lying about being a person of color. So basically what he's saying is white applicants to scholarships, jobs, whatever, they will click, I don't know, indigenous or Hispanic or partially black or whatever, in order to look like they're a person of color, to seek an advantage when it comes to getting that scholarship or getting that job, which is something that people do. I was in school and I remember being told that for my scholarships, I should put black. I shouldn't put white and black. I should just put black because I would get a leg up in getting a scholarship.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've heard the same thing.
Yeah. And that fact in and of itself, we're all aware that the only reason most of these forms will ask for your race and for you to self-identify what your race is so that they can, give affirmative action to the minorities that they're trying to help. And so since everyone understands that, as a white person, it's not in your best interest to say white. And
right.
But what Ibram Kendi's doing here is acknowledging that it's not a privilege to be white anymore. It's a privilege to be a person of color in these forms. And so here he is. His whole life's work is premised on the idea that if you're a person of color in America, in modern America, you're oppressed. And then here he is tweeting something that completely refutes and undermines his entire point.
Yep. It was a literal self-own because he did not think through his point before tweeting it out. And somebody caught on to the fact that that was a self-own, and that's Jack Poso, one of our friends on this show. Ibram X Kendi accidentally admits minority applicants have a better chance of getting into college, then deletes tweet. That's what Jack Poso responded to Kendi. And as you can imagine, Ibram X Kendi was not happy about this response from Jack Poso that completely pointed out his utter hypocrisy and lunacy when it comes to white supremacy and the idea of white privilege in America. So he responded, "They lie about what I said to defend the lying of white college applicants." That was Ibram X Kendi's response. And Jack Poso then responded, "I broke Kendi." And of course, this tweet got a lot of heat because, yes, he did. You completely broke down his argument. You debunked anything that he had to say when it came to white college applicants, and you proved that minority students have advantages over white people. So Ibram X Kendi saw this tweet from Jack Poso saying, "I broke Kendi," and responded with this. Jack couldn't deny his lies. So this is how he responded, and his quote broke reference has a long history within racist structures.
There it is.
White enslavers boasted about breaking quote black people when they did not quote break black people. The resistance never stopped, then it won't stop today. Oh my gosh.
Just reach right for that race card.
Reach right for it.
Get out of owning yourself for free.
Right. Keep your race card handy in your pocket because you can use it at any point where your hypocrisy and your stupidity gets pointed out on the internet.
It's so true. And it's this reminds me of like in poker, there's something called being tilted. And that's when like you basically start acting irrationally after you make a bad move and you like try to, okay, I'm now going to bet extra on the next thing because I lost that hand or whatever. And you freak out and start. And I feel like Kendi like realized the mistake that he made, deleted his tweet, which was probably not a good idea in the first place. It's better off trying to defend your, I don't know.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm not going to give him advice, but, and then that got called out all the more, and so then he's like just doubling down on all this and like, oh well, I got a race car too, and it just feels like he's just grasping for anything, and it's pretty pathetic to see.
And he doubles down again. He says a white man is attacking a black person with lies which are violent. What about when you criticize somebody's point, or when you criticize somebody's assertion when it comes to an issue? That's not an attack. And nothing that Jack Poso said in his tweets was an attack on Ibram X. Kendi. He then goes on to say, the white man keeps attacking until he declares he broke the black person. That's the context. Seek a book about slavery.
Just educate yourself, Amala.
You just need to be re-educated. You need to unlearn and relearn.
I mean, this man is a professor at Boston University. And someone I pointed out on Twitter the other day is like, has this guy ever like defended his ideas in like subjected them to scrutiny and defended them in a public forum with like, hey, no questions are off the table. I can defend my ideas. I can defend everything I'm putting out there. I've never seen it. And Coleman Hughes offered to debate. I can't remember if it was him or Robin DiAngelo, but offered to just have in the most best good faith offer I've ever seen, just extremely respectful, did not say, I'm going to try to trap you. We gave him so many preconditions and they just won't take it up because that's evidence that they don't actually believe in what they're saying by it. They can only survive in their own little echo chambers and where people don't ask questions and they just wanted to be patted on the head and told they're not racist.
And they don't truly care. And he'll put out another book next year and he'll make millions of dollars off of it. And he'll seek tenure as a professor. It's what they get. Oppression is currency. And they found the market. They found their niche. They know exactly what they need to say and what they need to spout to get people support. And they don't have to defend themselves anymore. Because guess what? When you attack a black man, not even attack, when you criticize his ideas, you are labeled a racist. It doesn't matter who you are. And they have found the niche and they've taken control of that market when it comes to ideas. They haven't taken control of the market when it comes to dialogue because they refuse to have one. It's crazy that he made that comparison to slavery. It's always slavery, ladies and gentlemen. Notice that. Just keep an eye out for the word slavery in those comparisons because that is what you will always hear for the rest of your life.
It's true. And stay tuned for Ibram's upcoming book, How to Raise an Anti-Racist, because that is a real thing for kids.
I just can't.
To get them to think like this or not think.
And people will buy the book.
They will. People
will buy the book and they will start raising their children through the eyes of this man. Terrifying. Terrifying.
That's why you should be grateful for PragerU.
That's why you should be grateful for PragerU and specifically PragerU Kids, which you can check out by going to PragerU.com/kids. We're not trying to indoctrinate your kids. We're simply trying to give them the truth with American history, science, not even politics. We don't even delve into politics when it comes to our kids' content. So check it out at PragerU.com/kids.
Great plug.
Yes, thank you. Will and I are going to be in an upcoming episode of Leo and Layla, by the way, playing a couple of different characters. So if you have kids, you'll now get to watch Will and I in cartoon form.
Wow. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah. So let's get into some less depressing news because we have a battle going on right now in America, and that is a battle against vaccine mandates. And you may feel like you're alone in this. I get a lot of messages from people saying, what do I do? My job is trying to mandate the vaccine. My school is trying to mandate the vaccine. My community is, making me a pariah because they don't want to get vaccinated. What do I do? And there is a fight ahead. It is a grueling and exhausting one, but there is one, and people are fighting alongside you. This one's off of New York Post. Here's the headline: 26 FDNY firehouse companies out of service over vaccine mandate staff shortage. So, the FDNY shuttered 26 fire companies citywide on Saturday due to staff shortages caused by the COVID-19 vaccine mandate, according to furious elected officials who ripped the move as unconscionable and warned it could have catastrophic consequences.
Imagine literally preferring to allow your city to burn down, allow people whose houses are on fire or under threat of death from fire to simply be burned to a crisp and die.
Right.
Rather than let it not relenting on you're forcing otherwise healthy young firefighters to be vaccinated from a virus with a 99.9% survival rate.
Yeah.
That is insane. That doesn't even prevent them from spreading it, by the way.
And I think a lot of this is because people jump on the virtue points that they get from saying we should mandate a vaccine, and they forget to think about the long-term repercussions of what that means. And this is actually short-term repercussions, because this was announced on Monday. So this is what's going to happen. It's the same thing that happened with Spirit Airlines and all these pilots and flight attendants, and is happening with other airlines now. But people are going to refuse. You don't just get to tell people what they can and cannot do and have a strong hold on their livelihoods. They will leave. They will stop. They will fight for their freedom. Albeit not everybody will do that, but there will be people who do. And when they do that, you are going to feel the entire force of what you advocated for. And that's what's happening here.
Yeah. Again, like if your house is on fire,
yeah,
are you going to be like, oh, I'm dying of smoke inhalation, but wait, before you come in, are you vaccinated?
Right.
Like, I guarantee you won't care in that moment. And yet we're preemptively shutting down firehouses all over New York City because of this insanity.
And it's going to affect the most important parts of how our cities and our societies run. It's going to be the fire departments. It's going to be the police. It already is these things. The police departments. It's the nurses who can't work. It's the CNAs who can't work. It's the military who are getting sent home. Truckers are being, everybody.
Workers.
Anything you can think of that is vital to the way that we've lived in America for the past decades is going to be affected by these mandates.
Many of which are trade school jobs or blue collar jobs, as we could check out PragerU's new documentary on that, trading up. But yeah, the people just take for granted that America just functions and works, and does not take into granted that it's built on people who are living their lives freely. And if you take away that freedom, they're going to fight back. They're going to push back. And I say good on them. Exactly.
They provide a service to you. And when you stop serving them, or at least facilitating their freedom, they will stop providing that service.
Which is a huge amount of power that we think, the way that if you just look at the internet, mainstream media, whatever, you don't think that the common person in America has that much power, but that's what they want you to believe. But these strikes and people pushing back and standing up for their freedom is having an impact, and it is causing a lot of these mandates to be lifted or reversed, as we'll see, I think, in our next story.
Yes. So now we're going to get into what's happening with American Airlines. We heard about Southwest and all of the different flights that they had to cancel to the tune of 1,800 over 1 week because of the staffing shortages that they had. What did they blame it on?
The rain.
Yeah. They blamed it on the weather, right? They said there's so many storms coming through and the weather is not permitting us to fly our planes, even though that wasn't happening for any other airline, just Southwest. And now we have American Airlines joining in this battle. Here's the headline, also out of New York Post. American Airlines cancels over 250 more flights amid staffing woes. Now, American Airlines has chosen to do the same thing. They've chosen to come out and say, well, this is not necessarily due to staffing. We've had some really bad weather conditions, specifically out of Dallas Love Airport. So at least they're being a little bit more specific than Southwest was, but they're also blaming it on weather and poor conditions. Now, there have been a few officials at American Airlines who have said there have been some staffing shortages as far as pilots and flight attendants go, and I wonder why that is.
I do too.
I wonder why that is.
It's so funny that they keep going back to the weather when it's like, it's so obvious that if it were the weather, then every other airline would be screwed too, and they would be canceling flights. But it's because of staffing issues. And granted, there are other factors at play. There's people who've been sitting home on unemployment rather than going and seeking work. There's the cuts that, like a lot of the airlines cut, leaned down their staffing during the pandemic, and those are certainly factors. But you've got to think that it's very coincidental that at the same time that these vaccine mandates are going down, that they're either unable to find workers who are willing to subject themselves to that, or people who are already working for them are resisting. Yeah,
there's dual sides to what we're experiencing right now, and what people are coining the Great Resignation. There's the people who have sat at home, like Taylor said, on unemployment, who are refusing to go back to work and resigning. And then there's those who are actually doing it for their freedom and for their liberty. And that is honorable. Sitting at home and collecting money from the government is not honorable. Doing this for liberty and freedom and for your own personal choice, that is honorable. And our friend Bill Malugin with Fox LA tweeted out some pictures of what he's seeing at American Airlines in terms of their customer assistance. Here are some photos that he took at the airport of the customer service line for American Airlines, quite literally wrapping around the airport.
What a delight.
What a delight. I would hate to be one of those people who's like sitting in the airport and then your flight gets canceled and you have to sit in a line of 600 people to get your flight fixed.
Yeah. But it's just demonstrative of how horribly we've mismanaged the response to the pandemic and just our country in general. Like, we literally might not be able to buy like toys for kids for Christmas right now because of these supply chain issues. And it's like, this isn't that hard, guys. It's just basic, making society function, being able to have flights. But because of so many mandates and regulations and just an outsized panicked response to the pandemic on so many levels, bad economic ideas, giving people too much unemployment for months on end and never really holding them accountable.
Right.
There's so many factors in there, but we caused it ourselves. This is like a self-made crisis that we could get out of. It's like everyone with common sense knows what needs to happen to start to climb out of this, but it seems like the problems just keep compounding.
Yeah, I was looking at a tweet this morning of all the different problems that we're experiencing right now that have been new to this year. We have the supply chain. We have the worst illegal immigration we've ever had in America. We have the gas prices going up. We have all these airlines just canceling flights because of the vaccine mandates. We have the mandates themselves. We have crime that's going up. We have the decriminalization of shoplifting. We have homelessness going up, at least in California, going down in other states. But so many issues born out of this year alone.
It's pretty crazy.
It is pretty crazy.
That's about as much as we can say about that right now.
That is about as much that we can say. Yeah.
But here we are.
Here we are, living in it. But guys, we're going to have a fun segment for today. We went through the sad stories, the horrible stories, the twisted ideology, and now we're going to do Dear Will and Amala because it is Monday and we can't let you guys go without doing Dear Will and Amala. And we have Will on the show today. So let's get into that.
Surprise.
Okay, guys, it's Monday, and we're finally getting into our Monday segment, which is Dear Will and Amala Live. And for the first time in a long time, we actually have Will here to do the segment. How's that?
Where did he come from?
Well, it's not Dear Will and Amala Live. It's just Dear Will and Amala.
Oh, did I say Dear Will and Amala Live?
Uh-huh.
Well, it kind of is Dear Will and Amala Live because that means
live.
that there's... Yeah, well, and...
It's okay. Amala's nervous to have me back on the show.
I'm so nervous.
They just,
okay.
They're referring to the show because they've forgotten that the will of Will and Amala.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's just Amala Live. But Will's back.
Will's back. And now we have some questions, advice questions that you guys submitted through my Instagram, which is at the Amala Epinobi. You can follow us all on Instagram, at the Amala Epinobi, at the Will Witt, at Taylor Trandle. And now we're going to get into some questions that you guys submitted that you are just begging to get advice on. This first one is from Laura E. Duncan. She says, how soon is too soon for Christmas? I mean, I've been ready for Christmas since October 1st.
Listen, this is a big deal, okay? There is no too soon for Christmas, but you cannot sacrifice the integrity of the other holidays for your vanity when it comes to Christmas, okay?
What qualifies as sacrificing the integrity?
If you're going to, you can't ruin Halloween. You can't ruin Halloween because you're so focused on Christmas.
Oh yeah, that's too far.
Yeah.
You can't start celebrating Christmas before Halloween. That's
okay, it's like if they have their Christmas decorations up before Halloween is even passed, you're probably problematic in this case.
Well, no, you could have them up. But I'm saying you can't ruin. No, you can start thinking about Christmas, but you can't ruin. You can't ruin Halloween by putting Christmas ahead of it.
If I'm like a little kid and I'm showing up to a house to get my Halloween candy and I'm trick or treating and they have Christmas decorations and they have Christmas decorations outside the house, I'm gonna be like, what's going on? Yeah, that's sacrificing the integrity.
Maybe they'll have good candy. I don't know.
What?
No, I'm saying don't ruin the holiday that you're supposed to be celebrating by celebrating Christmas too hard during that holiday.
Except I'm totally fine with you ruining Thanksgiving. Like if we make it through Halloween and then you want to start putting up Christmas decorations, by all means do it. But get through Halloween first.
No, you have Thanksgiving decorations.
The correct answer is November 1st is when you start celebrating Christmas.
That's the correct answer.
That is the correct answer. Then you can take a brief break the week of Thanksgiving to be like, okay, it's Thanksgiving time. We're going to enjoy Thanksgiving. And then you go right back to celebrating Christmas. And you can still watch Christmas movies over Thanksgiving because you're with your family and it's like it's time.
Logistically, that is the correct answer.
Wrong.
Okay, what is your correct answer?
You put up the Christmas tree the day after Thanksgiving. You have that Friday off. And you go and put up the Christmas tree.
It's not enough time.
No, Christmas is basically over at that point already.
What do you mean? There's more than a month left.
It's not long enough.
It's not long
and
enough.
I like you.
It's the Christmas season.
You're the one person who talks about fall all the time. You love fall. Then you're going to ruin fall by not celebrating fallness during the time of November. That's what November's for. It's for celebrating fall.
This is one of the most contentious questions we've ever had on the show.
Shut up.
People debate this.
No, it's true. It's
all
a
over
big
the
deal.
country. This is a hot debate. We should be having spicy salsa
Hot
right
button
now.
question here. When Christmas is over, when are you taking down the tree and the decorations?
That's just like after New Year's.
Yeah,
if you keep it up,
After New Year's.
if you keep it up after New Year's, you're a psycho.
I've known people to keep up their Christmas trees all year round.
I've met people who do that too, but that's out of laziness. It's not out of like actually celebrating Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, some people decorate Halloween trees, like Christmas trees for Halloween. So I don't know.
Okay, so the correct answer is Christmas starts November 1st.
No, that's not the
And you
Christmas
take a break. You take a break for Thanksgiving, and then it's back to
It's
Christmas,
like Christmas
once again.
pre-gaming, right?
It's- yeah.
November 1st hits, and you get an early teaser of like you get to enjoy the spirit and everything.
No, but you know when you go to a pregame and you go too hard at the pregame, and then you can't even make it to the party because you went too hard at the
never
pregame.
happens.
No, you can always go harder with Christmas.
You go too hard at the pregame. You're sloppy at the act when it
counts.
counts. Okay?
Well, now I'm going to Christmas even harder.
Yeah,
That's
I'm gonna
my
Christmas
answer.
even harder tonight.
Fine. Well, today's November 1st, and I don't see either of you celebrating. I'm celebrating fall.
Well, that's a great point.
I wore my candy cane underwear today just in celebration of Christmas. So.
But
Can I see?
he's not going to prove it to either
Just
of us. You guys just wait. That's after the live podcast, guys. Okay, next question. This one's from Haley Garrison. I'm crushing on a guy that I work with. How do I let him know that I'm interested?
Just kiss him.
And he's back, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow, that took 0 seconds.
Kiss him. This is a difficult one.
Yeah, it's not always the best move
No,
to do that with someone at work.
it's really not.
I mean, you know what girls do when they're interested in a guy. You like make yourself sort of available and drop hints.
But should
and
she?
Be,
And twirl their hair. And
Yes.
The question is, it's the Jurassic Park question. You thought so much about that you could that you didn't think so much about if you should.
Well, I don't know. If you've already decided you like this guy, and I think it's
Okay.
worth dropping the hints and getting him to ask you out.
There's no harm in going on a date with someone who you work with.
Okay,
You know?
fair enough. I mean,
If you think they're a good person and you like their energy and it's fun,
we've had a few Prager pairs
I
here
think
at this.
I think you're a great person, Will.
I'd go on a
love your
date with you,
energy.
Taylor.
Well, tonight I'm taking it because of Scott.
What are you and Scott doing tonight?
I mean, it's a private thing. So
It's a private
you're not
thing.
invited. We're
Pizza
decorating
and a
for
movie.
Christmas.
Well, that's crazy
We're
because
watching
Scott's
Christmas
coming over
movies.
after that.
That's
Oh, he's
amazing.
pre-gaming Christmas.
Yeah,
with
he's
me.
pre-gaming Christmas with you, and then we're celebrating fall.
Oh man.
I have a lot of clarifying question for this one. How closely do you guys work together? That's probably something that you should worry about. How interested are you in this guy, and in what way are you interested in this guy? I would also worry about that.
Also,
But-
if he's a subordinate, that's important.
oh, if he's your boss,
If he's your boss or he works under you, there's a weird power dynamic there. Maybe you're both into it. I don't know.
maybe they're
You gotta,
both.
you gotta figure that out. But
Maybe that's part of the appeal.
If he's into being under your authority, that's a red flag.
Yeah,
yes.
It's a red
Put all the red
flag.
flag emojis.
But no, you do what any girl does when they like somebody and just like make it known.
Yeah.
Whether that's through, like body language or just explicitly. How do you feel about a girl asking a guy out though? What if she asked him out and they work together?
I don't like it.
I don't like it.
there are plenty of work times where you guys will be around each other, depending on how closely you guys work together.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
just
what
do a
does she
Jim and
do,
Pam
Will?
thing.
It's like if you guys, let's say it's a sales meeting,
Okay.
and you're like, I'd like to sell you
On me.
on me, and then you
At a discount.
at a discount.
Discounts.
Yeah, and you're like, come look at these numbers, and then it's your phone number,
Oh, wow.
and then you guys go out.
This is
Yeah,
a lot
it's
of
wor-
assumes about what this girl does for work.
I don't know what she does. Maybe
I feel
she's a
bad.
trash
I feel like
man.
this girl this is like a serious question. And
No,
we
this is
haven't
a
really
serious
given her,
question.
like,
Answer it seriously.
Fine.
advice.
Fine.
How does she let him know that she's interested?
Drop hints.
Ask him to go to lunch. Easy as that. You guys got lunch at work. You say, hey, let's go get lunch.
It's just
Let's walk-
one-on-one.
let's walk
It's not
to Whole
like, hey,
Foods.
if you of us are going to lunch, want to come?
Well, not if you've probably already done that. You've probably established already. That's why she likes him. So it's like, all right, let's go walk to the local coffee shop and get matcha or something, or go to Whole Foods and walk together, or whatever
Okay.
it is. Go chill in the parking lot.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, take them to a solo lunch and feel it out. So you guys are together alone for a bit. And if that is nice, because then it's like no commitment. Because then it's like, oh, you guys work together. You don't want to like
Right,
just
like it wasn't a date.
barge into. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can tell HR and you can be like, it wasn't a date. We just got lunch.
See if you're a match over some matcha.
Yeah, a matcha match.
Wow, not sponsored. Not sponsored. Next question. Dear Will and Amala, how to handle stress in modern society? This one was given by Andrew L. Garner. How do you guys handle your stresses?
I don't know. I don't know.
You don't know?
You
just, I just can't. I'm freaking out. I just can't do it.
Just have an anxiety attack.
Will always looks very stressed out.
That's what they say in my flip-flops and board shorts every day. It's very
tightly
stressful.
wound.
Yeah.
So there are people I feel like who find a problem that's causing them stress and they confront that problem head on. And then there's people who unplug from the problem that causes them stress. Which one's better?
Well, it depends, I think, on the problem.
Okay.
Because sometimes the problem is taking things head on too much. You know, maybe you're like a go-getter type of person. And you're like, oh, I've been tackling too many things at once, and you like can't get a moment. So you need to unplug.
Yeah.
But if you're someone who's like, other people are pushing you in directions that's stressing you out, then maybe you need to face it head on and say, hey, I can't do this right now. I need to chill and calm down.
Yeah. I'm a big supporter of the unplug from whatever is causing the stress for a moment. Do something that you love. Do something that makes you happy for a little while. Decompress. And then it gives you the mental clarity to sort of face whatever's causing you stress a little bit better.
Right. But don't use that as an excuse to procrastinate or avoid confronting things that you need to confront. Like Jordan Peterson has that story that he tells of like this little boy who gets a pet dragon, and it's like in the house, but like only he can see it and the parents can't see it. And it like keeps growing every single day. And he keeps telling his parents like, hey, this, you know, what do you guys think about the dragon? It's getting big today, huh? And then they're like, what dragon? And that's funny, you know, Johnny. And then one day, like the dragon, like it gets so big, it like consumes the whole house and kills everyone or something.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, but it's a metaphor for how problems that you ignore in a household can just grow and grow and grow and end up consuming you. And so and that's like for life too. Like if you know, what are the little dragons in your life that you're pretending aren't there or running away from or not acknowledging? And that will end up, you can always kick it down the road. You can ignore it. You can pretend like it doesn't exist, but it can end up consuming you and making your life a heck of a lot worse if you don't confront it. So avoiding things that you should be taking care of in the name of sort of not being stressed about it can backfire too. It's a balance there. It's like, am I using this as a excuse to not confront something I should, or am I just taking a step back till I'm in a better frame of mind to confront the thing that I know I'm going to confront anyways?
Was that a man or a woman who asked the question?
This is a man.
A man?
Andrew. Yes.
I think, I don't know, there's definitely a stigma on men having stress and things like that. And that it's like men are just supposed to not be stressed at all and like handle things. And that's true to an extent. You shouldn't be complaining about life and the things that are going on.
They're lower in trait neuroticism.
Yeah. I find that for me, writing is really cathartic. Like I'll sit down and I'll just write things. I'm not going to share it with anyone or, you know, have it be public or anything, but I just like write about what's going on and talk about it to myself. I find that to be de-stressing for sure. Yeah. Because I feel like in the back of your head when you're stressed, you have a little voice that's telling you all these things and is saying, you know, you're an idiot or whatever it is that like you're hearing. And it's like if you can just write down reasonings of what is going on in your life and the stressfulness and try and maybe explain it to yourself. I don't know. I find that very relaxing.
Yeah.
You know, then you can fully understand the problem. I feel like a lot of the problems from stress come from like, we don't want to fully understand what's going on. So you can write it down and actually know what's going on. It can be relaxing. It can be relieving.
Yeah. Also talking to people, really important thing. Cause a lot of people just hold their stress inside and they face it alone, and it makes you feel even more lonely when you're doing that. So decide, do I need help with this? Would it be better for me to talk this through with somebody and talk to somebody? That's like the worst thing you can do is just internalize all of it and just keep going about your day and keep hustling and doing all the things that you normally do, because you'll bottle it up and then it will just bubble over.
It's like internalized racism.
Yes. It's like my internalized racism. Yep.
Talking to all these white men all the time.
Yeah, I talk it through with Will and Taylor, and they make me feel better about it. They affirm me in my racist tendencies.
Internalized victimhood, more like.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. That's good advice.
Yeah, it is.
It is. Both
Sometimes I don't do that.
Especially, I know you don't do that. A lot of times with men too, they're like, I should be able to fix all my problems on my own, and if I need help, that's weak. And it's totally not true at all. Of course, there are certain problems that you can totally fix on your own, but you sometimes need help and you sometimes need to talk about it.
So if you're a weak man, go talk to people. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. No baby.
The rest of us will solve our problems by ourselves by bottling them up.
Oh, that's horrible. Horrible advice.
No, Amala's right.
Yeah,
Amala's right.
Thank
But what you said is true too, though. Like,
Yep.
you don't even know what's all floating around in your head until sometimes you can just like writing forces you to organize your thoughts and really like articulate and think through, lay out in an organized manner what is going on in your head, and that is super helpful too. So
Like one thing I do when I'm reading books is I have like this whole sheet. It's this Google Doc. And so I'll take the part from the book. Like I'll usually buy the Kindle version and the physical version. I'll read the physical version and then I'll take the Kindle version and I'll copy and paste into this document the parts from the book that I like. And then once I take a part, then afterwards I'll go through and I'll do like parentheses and I'll write what I think about it, kind of like a paraphrasing of what I just read. Because then it's like you understand it better,
right?
You know, versus just like reading and you might forget it. And I know a lot of people keep like tabs in places when they read, and I think that can be helpful too. But I like to keep that tab and then explain it out. So when I go back and look, I'm like, oh, here's what it meant in the moment in comparison to the other things that I read at the time too.
Yeah, I think reading like that makes you much smarter than just like you meet some people who are like, oh, I've read a million books, but it's like they just don't have like a depth when you talk to them that's like, I've really digested what I've read. It's more just like you just appeal to a sense of being smarter or superior because you're quote unquote well read. But if you're not internalizing and digesting and really getting those ideas inside you and like earning them, like Jordan Peterson talks about, I keep quoting him, but then yeah, it's just skimming off the surface, and what's the point?
It's like every person in LA reading like every self-help book on the shelves. And why does every self-help book have the F word in it? Why is every self-help book that's out nowadays like, I don't give a F about this and screw these people? Like
you're a badass or whatever that book is.
Yeah, you're a badass. Like why is that all the self-help nowadays?
I don't know.
Notice that?
People need affirmation, I guess. I don't know.
Self-help is cancer. I mean, all this stuff that's going on with these books is like, it's worthless.
It's just weird because it's like,
it is.
Those type of books are, but like self-help like Jordan Peterson is actually like self-help.
No, of course. Yeah. I know, I'm saying like the industry, like self-help, the industry has been like taken over to be this like, I don't know, just like screw everyone else type of mentality and just do your bad bitch like type of stuff that you want to focus on. It's like,
you were born the ideal person. You don't need to work for anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't need some grifter telling me how to win friends or
influence enemies. No, definitely not. I mean, you know, we almost put that book, we almost put it into because we were trying to get New York Times list. And so the New York Times, when they're tracking books, they're like, you have to put it into a category for tracking. This is the guy at the New York Times told us. So we were like, all right, we were maybe going to put it in the self-help category because it's almost like, in some ways, I mean, reading it, you guys read my book. I mean, it's like, in some ways, it's self-help. It tells people how to like talk to people and have persuasion tactics and ask questions. So we almost put it in that category. We ended up just putting it in the nonfiction category. And we didn't get that anyway, but we're losers.
I don't think you would have had it either way. I think
we made the numbers. I don't want to talk about New York Times. I'm just saying that, you know, either way, it's bogus.
It is bogus. So. Speaking of friends, Dear Will and Amala from McKenna O'Brien 31. Should I stop being friends with my liberal friends that never respect me or my opinions? Question mark.
The ending phrase is the key part there. That never respect me or my opinions. I was
just going to say that.
Yeah. Sorry. You want to finish it?
No, you
just want to let a little burp.
You carry your thought. That was like a 6. Next.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Like, that's to me is the dividing line between whether you can be friends with someone is that whether they respect you and if they're content to, okay, we're going to create this space where we can still be friends even though we're conscious that each other's differences of opinion, and if they're not willing to create that space, then you can't be friends with them.
Yeah, and that's in any realm, whether that's politics, the way you handle your relationships, your family. If they lack respect for you and your opinions on what you believe and what you think, then they're not a friend in the first place. And that's the part of that I think people should focus on. You're not stopping being friends with these people because they're liberals or they're leftist or they're Republican or Democrat or whatever. You're doing it because they don't respect you. Any good friend would be able to say, we disagree on this, and that's totally fine. I understand why you believe what you believe, and we will just accept the fact that we disagree on that. But friends who can't do that are not friends.
Just don't be friends with evil people.
I don't know if it makes them evil.
I'm not saying it makes them evil. I'm just saying look at people and think if their ideas are toxic and evil. Yeah. If their ideas are toxic and evil. Like if someone says, I'm fine with aborting children up to 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
That's evil. I wouldn't be friends with someone like that.
I mean, they're going around like preaching that,
Yeah.
it's like their life and their values are like the way they're living their life is so in your face. Like I'm activist for aborting 9-month-old babies.
Right.
Then yeah, I would definitely avoid that type of person and
Right.
put them in the evil category.
100%.
Yeah, but like minor, like I have
It's values versus politics. There's
Yeah.
someone with different
Yeah.
values.
Mm-hmm.
If someone's values are aborting children at that age
Yeah.
or other ideological differences that are inherently evil,
Right.
it's hard to be friends with that
different.
person. It's incredibly hard to be friends with that
Mhm.
person. You know, no one is forcing you to be friends with these people. You have to choose
Yeah.
and say, is this a values thing or is this just like an ideological thing?
It just seems like from this question, McKenna respects the ideas that her other friends have and they don't respect hers. And that's a
or
big
like
differential there.
or the place where they're friends is like it's outside the realm of politics or the exchange of ideas.
Right.
So it's
like your volleyball friends.
Exactly. It's like I play a sport, and a lot of the people I play that sport with have very different politics and very different values from me. But
Mm-hmm.
for most of them, we're content to leave. They're content to leave their values and politics and ideas out of our shared space of the sport,
Right.
and so am I for the most part. And then you get the occasional like really aggressive person who just can't keep his mouth shut, and then those people, yeah, I avoid or I don't play with them if they're gonna you just be so aggressive with their views or whatever. But for the most part, we create that shared space and it works.
Yeah, it's the same
Yeah,
way
exactly.
I hang out with my roommates' friends and they're all super leftist, but it never comes up because we're just having fun. We'll go out, we'll dance, whatever, and it just never becomes a problem. And they know what I do, and I know what they do, and I know what they think, and it's fine. Yeah.
And a lot of times, having that type of relationship will open up the door to having actual productive conversations later on, because you
Yep.
have this baseline of like, okay, you're a regular human being, so am I. We obviously don't agree on stuff, but maybe we know that, okay, I know you're not evil because we hang out all the time and never talk
Right.
about politics. But so you're breaking my stereotype of what I think about the conservative or whatever. So maybe I'm open to hearing what you have to say, and that can be a door to, changing
Yeah,
minds.
just if they won't respect you, then it's like whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Then they're not your friends,
It's a
McKenna.
non-starter.
So that's
Yeah.
maybe a different discussion you have to have.
Find new friends.
Find your friends that respect you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say too, it's important to have friends who do share your values. That you do, not all your friendships should be on that like obscure level where you're not able to be open about your views, or that's not it's the best relationships are those where you have people who do share your values and that you can have deep conversations with, and there's a place for that too. And those are probably the most important friendships.
100%.
And there we go. That is tying up Dear Will and Amala. And that ties up our show as well, our Monday show. We're back, guys. The three of us are back.
Yeah.
I'm sure you feel really great about this. I'm sure some of you are just crying tears of joy that all of us are in the same room together for your show.
In our new
A different room.
A different room.
Mm-hmm.
somewhat new. This is kind of a transitory studio. We'll be here for temporarily until our next meeting, like they say in the Fellowship of the Ring. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? It's a work in progress. It's still a little janky. Still, we're working out some kinks. We may move some things around, but
We can take criticism.
yeah.
Put
I mean,
it down
I
below.
can't, but
Will can't. Will's very fragile when it comes to
yeah, please
criticism.
don't criticize me whatsoever. I can't take
But
it.
Taylor and I can take it.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, click that notification bell to be notified every single day when we go live, 2:30 PST, 5:30 Eastern. If you would rather listen to us than watch, you can go to Google Play, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review on all of those platforms so that everybody knows that you love the show. We know that you love the show. Also, we have a survey down below in the description. Fill out that survey. We want to know what you love about Will and Amala Live, what you hate about Will and Amala Live, and you can leave us little comments, the best ones, the funny ones, the sweet ones. We will read on our show and give you a nice shout out. We will be back
And the
tomorrow.
mean ones.
And the mean ones. We do love some
Definitely
mean
read
ones.
the mean
Yeah, that's something that Will and I share is we love disagreement and people who are mean to us, and we love highlighting that.
I do.
You
I
compare
do.
every week who gave more verbal abuse to me, or who received more verbal abuse throughout the week.
right.
Well, it's definitely me.
It's definitely Will.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
read through your Facebook messages.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Do I get mean ones?
No.
No.
All of them is like, you got one last night. It was very nice. It was some like 60-year-old man. And he's like, hey, like, if you would have told me 20 years ago, I'd be so impressed by a 20-year-old. You color me shocked. I was like, oh.
I didn't know you read through my Facebook messages.
And then I go through mine. It's like, you idiot. I hope you die. I'm like, dang.
I gotta few of those on Instagram, but it's very, very rare.
Yeah.
It's very rare.
That's okay.
The world is very nice to me.
That's good.
Young, black, female, and intelligent. I'm color me shocked. Didn't know this could exist.
That's the funniest comment I will ever get in my entire career.
Oh, man.
Because it's a hate comment, but it's a nice comment at the same time.
They didn't realize it.
They didn't realize it was a hate comment.
It's very funny.
He had
It is very
internalized
funny.
racism.
Yes,
he did. He did. He just
And
he still
ageism
doesn't
and
know
sexism.
it. Right.
So many problems.
But guys, thank you so much for watching. We're going to be back tomorrow at 2:30. We'll see you then.